But I think the next mountain that you climbed immediately, right? And I think that was like a redemption push or redemption summit, because
True.
you summited.
Yeah, I would say that. Correct.
Yeah, you submitted it, right? So I think from that climb, what can you tell about the importance of your mental aspect, and what were the things that you learned here, since this was your first climb, and then what did you apply there, and obviously you were successful there.
Yeah. So one thing is mental toughness. So usually when you don't submit, the people around you might have submitted, and it's a totally different thing, and they are rejoicing and you are not. But for me, it was not like that. I also was rejoicing with them because I knew summit is just an option. Getting down the mountain is more important than anything else. So I started to be more prepared while climbing Kangyatse, especially food wise, or visualizing the climb and trying to make sure I bridge that gap between risk and stupidity by not trying to do anything extra, trying to pack my bag very clearly, like trying to avoid all this. Like I actually didn't take my DSLR along with me for Kangyatse. I was like, okay, GoPro is enough. So there a lot of weight fell down. So such small things, while that process actually helped me to understand, okay, what should I eat. So we were more clear while buying things for Kangyatse also. So we were like, okay, fine, this not required, this we can take it out. That way it actually kind of pushed me, and also got into the climbing aspect more in Kangyatse too. So it's pretty good for me mentally. So I don't fall, like there is this thing where you start like thinking, okay, obviously there will be a thought like, oh, is this right for me? Like there's this self-doubt which comes into play. So I made sure I don't go into that area of self-doubt and all that. I was like, we came to do this, we are trained to do this, we can do this. So it was more of a self-evaluative process, I would say.
Awesome. So Mukunda, you're talking about like mental fitness and things like that. So when you are preparing for the mountain, so yeah, definitely a whole lot of mental strength and your whole mental fortitude aspect comes forward in the mountain. But before you go to the mountain, when you are like in the plains, say in Bangalore or Mangalore or something like that, where weather is like pretty normal, so how do you like prepare your mind for that, like here, sitting at our homes?
Yeah, one thing is yoga. Nothing can replace yoga, like, because yoga you're concentrating, like of course there are physical postures, but you are concentrating on your breathing, and breathing is very important in the mountains because your lung capacity defines what you get out. Because you might be a very good athlete, but if you cannot breathe, like if you cannot have that lung capacity, you're going to succumb very easily on the mountain. So we concentrate on like the breathing aspect, and trying to like there are different types of breathing techniques also which we try to do. So nowadays you have like Wim Hof and David Blaine. So in Wim Hof he actually makes you go through a certain kind of breathing process where you can hold your breath for more time. But I have tried both techniques, Wim Hof and David Blaine, but I feel David Blaine is like more cooler because you get to hold for 4 minutes or so. This kind of actually builds up your lung capacity. So that way, so everything is like, you're like mentally connected and you want to do like better. So when you go out there, your suffering is less comparatively.
Got it. I think I used to play trumpet, and for that itself, the lung capacity and holding your breath was like super important. So we had to hold like long notes for almost like 1.5 minutes at least. But I think 4 to 5 minutes is it's like insane. It's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah. But I think an important thing is I think I was recently seeing a video, right? And that's where and I could really connect to this, because they say that a lot of your moods, if you're angry or happy or sad, you can kind of balance it out just by breathing, right? And I think that's where the bridge is between breathing and your mental fitness, right? So you can kind of balance, even if you're angry, just take or extremely happy or in extremes, you just take like a breath or two, and then you kind of stabilize your breath, and then you understand that your mental equanimity or balance also kind of comes in really well. So I think that's where I think the bridge is between what you guys are talking and from what I've read. So yeah.
Right. It's like one more thing we concentrate on is like we stop measuring self-esteem based on our performance. So a lot of times you'll be like, okay, I did really well, and then your ego boosts up, and then again you fail in something, and again you're like, oh, this is not good for me. So we should not like feel that, like that should not be a problem for you when you're going for these big mountains, because if you're not sorted in that area, then when you go there it's totally a different game, because a lot of like these weather or anything that can play around with your mind, like weather or food, or say you fall sick, or say you have some bad motions or something, that's going to play around with your mental aspect big time. So you need to make sure you stop evaluating that way in that area, like where your self-esteem is based on your performance. If you stop evaluating that, you'll do really good.
But also one more thing I was interested in, Mukku, is that I've seen you eating all junk food. Okay, you
Correct.
used to keep eating junk food and then you still climb the mountain. So I was actually kidding, you were not eating junk food. But I just wanted to understand what food you
He agreed off also with that.
would you eat?
I had. It's not like I didn't have. I had.
Correct.
Yeah, but I wanted to tell that you kept eating junk food, but then since you agreed, okay.
No,
since you agreed,
basically the thing is
let's give
he's
it to
not
you.
like very strict to his diet and like sticking like some vegan and things like that. But like he eats even junk food, but yeah, obviously he's diet and controlled.
Yeah, but not like right before expedition. So there's no.
Okay.
Coming to the diet part of it, there's no tailor-made diet for anyone. Like, okay, yeah, if you eat this, you will climb well, or like the vice versa, whatever. So it again differs from each person, and most I would suggest is to have a proper like a balanced diet initially, and being a vegetarian or a vegan is always thumbs up, because you'll do really good. But having said that, of course, you see all this north, the Sherpas and all that, the hardcore non-vegetarians. So
yeah,
it differs.
so
Yeah.
I
Coming
think
from
you
which,
should have a
like-
diet like me. Like I'm a balanced diet person, no? So
Okay. What is your balanced diet consisting of? Like bisi bale baat and
What-
Cheetos, Bingo, Lays.
see, my diet guru is only Abhinav. Like he'll keep telling me how to eat and all. Obviously, Mukku is
he'll
my
have French
inspiration.
French fries in the morning. What is that pasta? Penne pasta in the afternoon.
Oh, he made like instead of penne pasta, he made like benne pasta like that.
Davangere benne dosa.
Penne.
Davangere penne pasta. Nice.
Davangere benne pasta. Yeah. But yeah,
No, but
I think
like
so.
the importance of eating like what about like veggie based diet? Say if especially like me, Abhinan, all three of us are like vegetarians, and we're not vegans, but as a vegetarian, say, so what kind of diet like would you follow, say, in a given day, say 1 month before expedition?
Plenty of vegetables and fruits in the morning, like because it takes a lot of time to digest. Whole grams, anything like regarding whole grams, like whatever, and healthy fats.
What is
a lot
whatever?
of people
Tell or something. Like almonds and all.
Yeah, almonds and all the vegetables, man. Like fruits, apple, orange, whatever. So you name them. Healthy fats like your ghee and all that. Homemade ghee. Whole grams, yeah, horse grain. I don't know, I'm not getting them in my mouth so right now. So that's why I'm not telling. But yeah, but you must know that, like any of those things. I'm not getting the specific words.
Pulses
right
and chana dal and all that, right? Soak in water and
yeah,
have
chana dal and all that. Yeah.
Got it.
Limited amount of.
Yeah, eat chana dal and sing
Channa. I know you're going to crack that joke. Channa. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. But Mukku, You should keep saying water is really important, right? So you would say, look, drinking lots and lots of water is very important. But why is it so important?
Why is it so important? Because you're going to, like, when you go to the mountains, it's going to help you acclimatize better, your body especially. Water is like the shortcut to acclimatize your body better in the mountains. So if you're drinking water at ground level, you're just going to continue that. Your body is going to adapt very easily when you go to big mountains, like especially base camps and all that, wherever the river flows. You're going to you're not going to have any problem regarding especially this high altitude sickness, acute mountain sickness and all those things. You will acclimatize very well.
So in the mountains, I've heard, I was following this mountaineer called Colin Brady. You only obviously told me about it. So he was saying that particularly in mountains, like people tend to drink a lot of water. Now, I don't know why is that.
Because your body will adapt better by drinking, because more oxygen, water contains oxygen, and it's going to adapt more, because that's the only form apart from just breathing oxygen. Water is another form where your body derives oxygen. So that's one of the important.
So do you get you must be getting thirsty also a lot, right?
Actually, no. Whoa. You don't get that thirsty when you're cold. But if you're sweating, yes. But if you're trekking during the from your base camp to whatever camp 1 or camp 2 and back, you will be sweating a lot during the day. So obviously that time your body will ask for that amount of water. But I would suggest to drink around 4 liters of water daily in the mountains. Or if you're starting out from the sea level, you can start with 3 liters and slowly build up. The only negative point I would say to this is you will have to also go to the restroom that many times you drink water, because your bladder is going to be almost full. But in the mountain, you have no other option. To acclimatize better, you need to drink that much water. There's no shortcut.
Cool. So like when you went to Stoke Kangri, you had to carry your own food, right? Correct. So how did you, pack your food for the mountains, and what is the whole Indian style of packing versus Western style of packing? Because I've heard a little bit about it from you.
Yeah. So Indian style, we carry tomato. So for Stoke Kangri, we carried like tomato, potato, all these things we carried. But we realized when we went there, that all these fruits like vegetables started to it was starting to freeze up, and it was very tough to cook, because that has to unfreeze and defreeze and put it in hot water and cook. It took a lot of time making water, cooking these vegetables. Actually, we ate a lot of things. We ate was kacha, it was not cooked properly, and it was very horrible. The Stoke Kangri, food thing was very horrible. Ghee we took, and ghee was not melting only. How much ever, it was so frozen, it was not melting. And we were like, okay, why did we get all this? And then so in Kangyatse, we try to avoid taking, hardcore vegetables and all. We try to stick to, packed foods, which is not good on a long run.
Okay.
But I think so basically whatever you eat in sea level, what I understood is whatever you eat in sea level, if you try to convert the same thing as you go up, it's always good. The same diet will always give you better results. But if you try to experiment something in the mountain, it's going to really go bad. Any small detail also. Okay. For example, before Kangyatse, we took these Chinese chocolates. I don't know what do you call them. So these chocolates, we were like, okay, we're going to build this. This is going to give us instant energy and all. These are toffees, those 1 rupee toffees. And a lot of them, not 50, almost 80, 90 and all. And we kept belting them initially. And then it started to, what is the marginal utility concept came into play.
Correct.
And then we were like, okay, fine, this is getting bad, and we stopped eating. But then it kind of affected our stomach, especially me. I got bad motions on the base camp of Kangyatse. by eating these chocolates. By the end of it, we were like, please, I will never look at these chocolates again, toffees again. So it kind of came to that. So it's very like these small things also, of course, since it was a 6,000 meter peak, we could always, but when you're going for little more higher, where you can't go between base camp and camp 1 again and again, so it becomes very tough. So that's where you need to concentrate on. But again, eating, mainly make sure you don't like go dehydrated. We keep sipping water every hour, and also making sure, like, why these toffees is because the sugar needs to be there in the body, although they tell that like sugar is bad and all that, but you need that, you know, you need that kick,
sugar rush.
You need to have something, yeah, that sugar rush. So that's there, and you're going to keep losing weight as you progress in the mountain.
Correct. There's a lot of muscle loss that happens, no?
Yeah, a lot of muscle loss. So that to avoid that, you need to eat well. But again, you can't carry that much. So it's again very, it comes back to the first point. It's very, like, it differs from each individual. So whatever you want to have, the next person might not have. So you need to like figure out. That's why that's why choosing a partner is very important, because you need to have that kind of same taste or same kind of thought process, so that you like sync well, especially when it comes to food.
That's a very deep answer, you know, for choosing a partner. It's almost like someone's marriage and all, like, you know, it's not
true.
so easy.
But we need to carry, like, so we carried a lot of, so in Kangyatse we carried a lot of dry fruits, and like we carried oats, a lot of like, you know, dark chocolate and all that. So in this we carried, like, usually I take some time to acclimatize, so I carried garlic. It's kind of stinky, but like you have to do that. Garlic and water kind of reduces your, you know, heart rate. Initially when you get to the camp, your heart rate will be high no matter what, but then it slowly reduces as you drink water. So this is actually good, garlic. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of nuts, cashew nuts, all these things we took, dry fruits, raisins.
Even I have heard that iodine also kind of reduces your heart rate at times. So iodine tablets, some people suggest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more topic I can touch upon is, so as we were going to Kangyatse summit, we were carrying, like, each of us were carrying, I think 4 liters of water, each of us. And as we were climbing through the night, it was extremely cold, and our water bottle like kind of started to freeze up. And only when we reached the summit and when the sunlight came out and all that, we realized, okay, water is slowly defreezing, and you can't have snow because you'll get dehydrated very fast. Especially while going, you can't have. While coming back, you can, but still, it's a very risky thing. But so I would suggest to carry Coca-Cola or you know, Pepsi or anything, because usually they don't freeze up.
Yes.
Soft drinks don't freeze.
I'm going to go and tell this to my mom. Coke is important.
Basically, Abhinandan was once on a spree of drinking Coke almost every day of his life, and now he's in a better place.
It's banned at home now. Yeah.
Thank God it's
Can you
banned.
Can you just come here and tell this to my mom that why Coke is important? So I think I'll be good.
Definitely.
I'll edit out this part, bro, so that his mom doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mukunda, so you spoke about all 3 aspects actually. You know, you spoke about the physical strength, the mental fitness, and also the diet when going to the mountain. Now, say if you were packing right now for a mountaineering expedition, okay, and you had your bag laid out. So, what all were the things? Can you just quickly run us through the checklist? Just top of your mind.
Yeah. So first plan the itinerary. What route are you going to take? Or what are your rest days for acclimatization? What is the difficulty level? How is your approach to the mountain? Then we make sure, like, we see on like maps, Google Maps, or like in our case in Ladakh, Google Maps was not a big deal. Like, we didn't know the route, right? So we kind of asked a lot of local guys, like, what do you think is the best route to climb? And a lot of people told, okay, you take the Marka Valley approach and get down through Kongmarula, but we kind of did the other way around. But there was this app called Maps.me app, which all backpackers use the app. It's an offline map, completely offline, and whoever has climbed or something, they kind of, the routes are there. So actually in the route also they tell there's a bridge over here, like there's a stone bridge here, waterfall might be more. So we are kind of lucky enough to get to know about the map by, you know, talking to a lot of these foreigners. A lot of these foreigners only use these you know, offline maps. So they kind of suggested, why don't you, you know, see through this map so you get a better, because we don't have any guide, we didn't want any guide, and we kind of, this kind of helped us. So every time I was like the map reader, I was like, okay, here we have to go left or you have to go right. And then so many times we became like, we kind of came to certain points where we were like, oh damn, there's no route only, there's only water flowing here. So some more important things, like we have to do a weather check. A lot of mountaineers just go during the bad weather and they're not able to like succeed. That's because they have not seen how the weather is going to turn out. But it's again a very it's a very dicey situation every time, because you don't know, whenever you go to mountains, weather changes very quickly. You might not know, you might not get the best weather to summit. So we also see like what all equipments we can take. A lot of things you cannot buy, because mountaineering itself is a very costly sport. So you'll have to rent out. When you go to these like Ladakh and all, you have like really good stores in Leh where you can rent out equipments, whether it can be your crampons or, you know, ice axe and all. They have really good, but make sure you get it checked, because most of these equipments are used again and again and they may not, you know, they may not check it regularly. But if you go to really legit stores, they check it very well and they make sure you are not in any trouble. But still, on the safer side, you need to check out the tents, whether tent poles are fine, or, you know, the ropes are in good, you know, shape and all that. Apart from that, you should research about permits before going to a mountain. A lot of these mountains have permits which you need to you know, get it from IMF. IMF is the, you know, the main body for mountaineering in India. Otherwise, some mountains you don't require permits. You can just directly go over there and, you know, the whatever Ladakh association or to whatever like associations there, they will issue permits. You have to state the reason and number of people and all those details. You can get it done. And also we mainly focus on this aspect of rest and acclimatization very much, because that actually drives us to, you know, our success, our summit and back. So we concentrate on that part. So we make sure we plan well, like where our rest days needs to come between the climb. So we focus on that. Yeah, that's about it. And yeah, medicine is one of the important part of it. So you need to have you know, like an oximeter. I'm sure nowadays oximeter is in, it's extremely,
it's in
everyone
every house.
are ordering oximeters. Yeah, every house. That needs to be there. You need to carry ORS. Try to mix ORS in your water so that you don't get dehydrated as you're trekking towards the mountain, because you're going to sweat a lot. You will not know. So many times you will just suddenly realize that your shirt and you know, cap and all has become white. It's because body is emitting out that salt. So you might not pee also. So that's why you need to drink that much amount of water while going. And then you make sure you carry a lot of, you know, for different medical issues and personal issue also which you have. You need to make sure you need to discuss with your partner. If you're climbing in a group, make sure you tell what problems you have, so that they'll be prepared well enough for them to help you around in the mountain. You know, technology wise, you can carry your headlamps and your phones, whatever. And if you're try to minimize, you know, the tech part, because that's at some point of time in the mountain, it's not going to help you and it's useless to you. So carry, because documentation is one of the most important thing that's going to play in your memories, right? So, and then of course your cosmetics and other utilities, and make sure you plan well regarding the clothes. So you don't need to carry everything. You can put out, like, you just carry. So if you're climbing for 4 days, you can just carry like 2 pairs of pants and 2 shirts. That's it. You don't need to carry like 4 days means 4 shirts I'll wear and all that. You don't need that. Of course, your your down jacket and thermal wear, all these things, the required things has to be there, that you cannot do anything about it. Yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Well, that was awesome. Anything more from your side, Abhinandan?
Nothing. So I think from what I've understood from this whole talk that we've had is to plan your trip well, right? So plan in terms of what you're going to take, plan in terms of your route, right? And then once you plan everything, the next thing is really execution, right? And in the execution aspect of it, what is important is your physical fitness execution. So you need to be physically fit, be mentally fit, and then also have a good diet, right? And then when you go onto the mountain, think in terms of think clearly, and then think with respect to what is required, what you need to do, and then have a good decision making process. So I think this is the execution part. So I mean, this is a lovely talk, even though knowing Mukku for a long time, I don't think we've really sat together, all of us, Abhinav also, and then we've edited a lot of his stuff. Abhinav has edited a lot of his video, but sitting together, three of us, and really speaking in depth, we've never done that. So, and in such a structured way, I mean, this is the first time, and I'm sure everyone who wants to go to the mountains, or anyone who's remotely also interested in mountaineering, would find this episode hugely, I mean, I'm not playing it down, but then they would find this episode hugely beneficial and important. So please support this episode by sharing it. We would also link Mukunda's social handles in the video, in the YouTube video, so you can go and check it out. You can personally go and see how he's explored a lot of it. All of that is documented in Instagram and then his YouTube channels. And also that one amazing video that these guys climbed, and Abhinav has also been involved in the editing aspect of it. So all of that is going to be linked in the social media handles in the YouTube below. So yeah.
I was just coming to that actually, that Sai Mukunda said that there are so many things that are involved in the checklist, and one of them is documentation. So climbing mountains that are like so high, and where thinking about your survival itself is a difficult task. If you're like taking out your camera and you're recording, that's actually like a great thing. And like I said earlier in the video that I was kind of inspired to edit that whole video, and I still feel that it was one of the good edits that I've done till now. And if I've done like good in the editing bit of it, so you can imagine how difficult it must have been for him to actually go up there and shoot in minus 30 degrees cold, so there's blood, sweat and tears, everything involved there. So please visit Mukunda's channel and watch the whole movie Beyond the Summit. I can tell you that I have edited it, and I generally don't rewatch stuff that I have edited much, but that is one exception. And so please go and subscribe to his channel. He's going to put a lot of mountaineering content, hardcore mountaineering content. So you should follow him, and for great tips, for great information, for great advice on mountaineering. So his channel is linked below. Big shout out to him. And I think today we had like amazing fun in this episode. Like Abhinandan said that, we have had chats in parts, small parts, and it ends up going somewhere when we are on phone. It's all diverted, and we are generally pulling each other's legs and making fun and things like that. But I think today was really fun, where we kind of sat and dissected the whole thing in a very structured way, and it was fun. Like I learned so many things that I wouldn't have thought.
Yep.
So that was our 5th episode of the Right Now Show with Abhinandan and Abhinav and Sai Mukunda for us today. And we will have many more such episodes with Sai Mukunda, I'm pretty sure, on mountaineering and other things. So stay tuned, stay happy, stay healthy. That's it for today. Signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.